I sit at my childhood dining table staring at loan documents for $38,000, with my signature line highlighted in yellow. My parents beam proudly while my brother Marcus fidgets nearby. "Just sign here, sweetheart," my mother chirps, sliding the pen closer. "Tyler needs this for college and you're doing so well financially." My hand trembles as memories flood back, working double shifts at 16, while Marcus got everything handed to him, paying $50,000 in student loans while he received full family support. I reach into my purse and pull out a plane ticket to Barcelona, dated for tomorrow morning. The silence that follows is deafening. My mother Nancy drops her coffee cup and the ceramic shatters against the hardwood floor. My father Robert leans forward, squinting at the boarding pass as if it might disappear under scrutiny. Marcus stops fidgeting and stares at me with genuine confusion. I started working at Pizza Palace when I turned 16, earning $4.50 per hour while my classmates enjoyed summer vacations. Every weekend, I rolled dough and cleaned grease traps, while Marcus practiced baseball in our backyard, surrounded by private coaches my parents hired. They always called him their golden boy, the one with potential, the future college athlete who would make the family proud. When college applications came around, I researched every scholarship opportunity and applied to 17 different programs. My guidance counselor, Mrs. Henderson, helped me navigate the maze of financial aid forms during lunch breaks. I was accepted to community college with partial funding, knowing I would need to work nights to cover the remaining costs. Marcus, meanwhile, received a full ride to State University, not because of exceptional grades or athletic talent, but because my parents had been saving for his education since birth. I worked as a night security guard at the medical office building on Elm Street, walking empty corridors from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., then attending classes until 3 p.m. My shifts paid $8 per hour, enough to cover tuition if I ate nothing but ramen noodles and peanut butter sandwiches. I studied accounting textbooks during quiet hours, highlighter in one hand, security flashlight in the other. Marcus received a brand new Toyota Camry for his 18th birthday, complete with leather seats and a premium sound system. The car cost $23,000 more than I earned in an entire year. For my birthday that same year, my parents gave me a card with $50 inside and a suggestion that I treat myself to something nice. I used the money for textbooks. When I transferred to State University for my final 2 years, I took out $52,000 in student loans. Marcus lived in the fraternity house, attended spring break trips to Cancun, and maintained a monthly allowance of $600 for social activities. I lived in a studio apartment that smelled like mold and cigarettes, measuring exactly 240 square feet. The bathroom was so small I had to step into the shower to open the door completely. After graduation, I found a job at Morrison & Associates, a mid-size accounting firm downtown. My starting salary was $38,000 annually, and I immediately put myself on a strict budget to attack my student debt. I ate peanut butter sandwiches for lunch every day, bought clothes exclusively from thrift stores, and walked 12 blocks to work regardless of weather. Every spare dollar went toward loan payments. Marcus graduated without debt and moved back home, where my parents converted the basement into a luxury apartment complete with a kitchenette and entertainment center. He started a landscaping business using $15,000 my parents provided as startup capital. They also purchased all his equipment, commercial lawnmowers, edging tools, and a trailer to transport everything. I bought a used Honda Civic with 18,000 miles on the odometer, paying cash after saving for 8 months. The car had a cracked windshield and a radio that only received AM stations, but it was mine. I worked overtime whenever possible, sometimes staying at the office until 9 p.m. to qualify for additional compensation. 4 years later, I made my final student loan payment. I celebrated alone in my apartment with a frozen dinner and a single glass of wine I had been saving for the occasion. My parents forgot the milestone entirely, but they remembered to call me the next week, asking if I could loan Marcus $3,000 for business expenses. Now, Tyler, Marcus's 18-year-old son, sits across from me with the same expectant expression I remember from his father at that age. My parents have prepared my favorite meal pot roast with carrots and mashed potatoes, as if comfort food could soften my resistance to their financial ambush. Kennedy. My father says, adjusting his reading glasses, "We know you've always been responsible with money. Tyler got accepted to Westfield University, but the financial aid package wasn't quite enough to cover everything." My mother nods enthusiastically, her hands clasped together like she's praying. "It's such a prestigious school, honey. Tyler worked so hard to get in, and we can't let this opportunity slip away." Marcus finally speaks up, his voice carrying the same entitled tone I remember from our teenage years. "Look, sis, I tried to get the loan myself, but my credit isn't great right now. The landscaping business hit some rough patches, and I had to declare bankruptcy last year." I look at Tyler, who has been silent throughout this entire presentation. He's tall like his father, with the same sandy brown hair and green eyes that charmed teachers and got him out of trouble throughout high school. But there's something different in his expression, a wariness that suggests he knows more about the family's financial situation than he's letting on. "Worth $38,000, I repeat slowly, letting the number hang in the air, "for 1 year of college." "Well, it's a 4-year commitment," my father clarifies, "but Tyler is planning to major in business, and Westfield has excellent job placement rates for graduates." I set down my fork and reach into my leather purse, the one I bought 3 years ago when I received my promotion to senior associate. My fingers find the boarding pass, and I place it on the table next to the loan documents. "I can't co-sign the loan because I won't be in the country," I announce quietly. "I've accepted a position with an international consulting firm in Barcelona. My flight leaves tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. The explosion is immediate and devastating. My father's face turns red, and he slams his palm against the table so hard that the salt and pepper shakers jump. "After everything we've done for you," he shouts, "after all the support we've given you over the years." My mother starts crying, not gentle tears, but the kind of sobbing that shakes her entire body. "Kennedy, you can't just abandon your family in our time of need. Tyler is counting on us, and you're the only one who can help." Marcus stands up so quickly that his chair tips backward, clattering against the kitchen counter. "This is unbelievable," he snaps. "You've been planning this whole escape route while we've been struggling, and you never said a word." I remain seated, my hands folded in my lap, speaking in the same calm tone I use during difficult client meetings. I've been planning this move for 18 months. I applied for the position, went through 6 rounds of interviews, and accepted the offer in March. "March," my mother gasps. "You've known since March and never told us." "I told you I was considering international opportunities when I got my CPA certification," I reply. "You laughed and said I was being too ambitious for my own good." Tyler finally speaks up, his voice barely above a whisper. "Why didn't you tell me, Aunt Kennedy? I thought we were close." I look at my nephew, feeling a pang of guilt for the first time since I walked through the front door. "Tyler, I wanted to tell you, but I needed to make sure everything was finalized before I shared the news." Marcus begins pacing behind his chair, running his hands through his hair in the dramatic gesture I remember from our childhood arguments. "So while my son's future hangs in the balance, you've been planning your grand adventure. That's real nice, Kennedy. Real family-oriented of you." "Let me ask you something, Marcus," I say, standing up and walking to the kitchen island where my mother has displayed family photos. I pick up a picture from Marcus's high school graduation, showing him in his cap and gown surrounded by our beaming parents. "What exactly did I receive for my graduation?" "That's not the point," he mutters. "No, it is the point." I set down the photo and pick up another one, this time from Marcus's wedding 5 years ago. What about when I graduated from college? What about when I paid off my student loans? What about when I bought my apartment? My father stands up. his voice taking on the authoritative tone he used when we were children. Kennedy, this isn't about keeping score. This is about family responsibility and helping each other when times get tough. Times get tough. I laugh, but there's no humor in the sound. Times were tough when I worked 60-hour weeks to pay off $52,000 in debt. Times were tough when I ate cereal for dinner because I couldn't afford groceries and loan payments in the same week. My mother stops crying long enough to defend herself. We helped you whenever we could. We let you live here rent-free during college breaks. I lived here for 2 weeks during Christmas break freshman year, I correct her. Then you converted my bedroom into a craft room and told me to stay in the basement when I visited. The basement was perfectly comfortable, my father argues. The basement flooded every time it rained more than half an inch. I slept on an air mattress that had a slow leak. Uncle Dennis's car pulls into the driveway and my mother immediately brightens. Thank goodness Dennis is here. Maybe he can talk some sense into you. Dennis walks through the front door without knocking, a privilege he's enjoyed since I was a child. He's my father's younger brother, a construction foreman who has always prided himself on being the family mediator. What's all the commotion about? He asks, surveying our tense faces. Kennedy is being selfish, my mother announces before anyone else can speak. We need her help with Tyler's college expenses, and she's running off to Europe instead. Dennis looks at me with disappointment already forming in his expression. Kennedy, honey, I know you've worked hard, but family comes first. Tyler's a good kid, and he deserves the same opportunities everyone else gets. I walk back to the table and pick up my boarding pass, holding it where everyone can see. Uncle Dennis, did you know that when I was 19 and struggling to pay for textbooks, Marcus took $3,000 from my college fund? The room goes completely silent. Even the grandfather clock in the hallway seems to stop ticking. That's a lie, Marcus says quickly, but his face has gone pale. Is it? I reach into my purse again and pull out a bank statement I've been carrying for weeks, anticipating this exact conversation. This is from First National Bank dated October 15th, 2018. It shows a withdrawal of $3,000 from the education savings account with my name on it. My father takes the paper from my hand, his reading glasses sliding down his nose as he studies the document. His shoulders sag as he recognizes the truth. You knew about this. I continue, my voice still steady despite the anger building in my chest. Both of you knew Marcus took my book money, and instead of making him pay it back, you decided to handle it quietly within the family. We were going to replace the money, my mother says weakly. When I graduated 3 years ago and I never saw a penny of it returned. Tyler looks at his father with growing confusion. Dad, is this true? Did you take Aunt Kennedy's money? Marcus sits back down heavily, his earlier bravado completely gone. It was a temporary loan. I was planning to pay it back. With what money? I ask. You were unemployed for 6 months after that, living in Mom and Dad's basement and driving the car they bought you. Uncle Dennis clears his throat uncomfortably. Look, Kennedy family disagreements happen, but that doesn't mean you should abandon Tyler when he needs help. I'm not abandoning Tyler, I say firmly. I'm refusing to enable the same pattern of financial irresponsibility that has been destroying this family for years. I return to my purse one more time and pull out a manila folder that I've been carrying like evidence in a criminal trial. My family watches with growing unease as I open it and spread the contents across the dining table, pushing aside my mother's carefully arranged centerpiece. Since we're being honest about family finances, I announce, let me show you what else I've discovered. The first document is a collection of bank statements I obtained through legitimate channels. Marcus listed me as an emergency contact on several accounts, giving me legal access during his bankruptcy proceedings. The papers show a pattern of ATM withdrawals from the Riverside Casino, sometimes 3 or 4 transactions in a single evening. $12,437. I read aloud. That's how much Marcus has lost gambling in the past 13 months. Marcus lunges forward to grab the papers, but I pull them out of his reach. These are copies, I inform him calmly. I have the originals in a safe deposit box. My mother stares at the bank statements as if they're written in a foreign language. Marcus, you told us the landscaping business failed because of bad weather and late payments from clients. It did fail because of those things, Marcus insists, but his voice lacks conviction. I pull out another set of documents, these printed from the Better Business Bureau website. 3 formal complaints filed against Marcus's landscaping company in the past year. Mrs. Rodriguez paid $1,500 for a retaining wall that was never built. The Johnsons gave him $800 for tree removal and never heard from him again. Uncle Dennis takes the papers from my hand, his expression growing more troubled with each page. Marcus, what the hell is this? Business gets complicated sometimes, Marcus mutters. I was planning to finish those jobs. With what equipment? I counter. Because, according to these pawn shop receipts, you sold your commercial lawnmower 3 months ago. Tyler stands up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. Dad, you told me the equipment was stolen from the storage unit. It was stolen. Marcus lies, but his face is flushed and sweat has formed on his forehead despite the air conditioning. I pull out the final set of documents, and these are the ones that make my father sink into his chair with a defeated expression. They're bank statements from my parents' joint checking and savings accounts, information I obtained legally when they asked me to help them with their tax preparation last year and forgot to revoke my access. Mom, Dad, I say gently, did you know you've given Marcus over $18,000 in the past 2 years? My mother's crying starts again, but this time it's quieter, more resigned. He said it was for emergencies. $5,000 last Christmas to cover gambling debts. $3,000 in June for what he called equipment repairs. $2,000 in September when he claimed his truck needed a new transmission. My father removes his glasses and rubs his eyes. How did you find out about all this? I'm an accountant, Dad. It's my job to notice patterns in financial records, and when you asked me to help with your taxes, I saw the unusual cash withdrawals. Uncle Dennis sets the papers back on the table and looks at Marcus with disgust. You've been lying to everyone. I've been trying to get back on my feet, Marcus protests. Everyone makes mistakes. Mistakes. I pick up another receipt from the table. This is from Ruth's Chris Steakhouse 2 weeks after you borrowed money from Mom and Dad for truck repairs. $167 for dinner for 2. Tyler's voice is barely audible. Dad, you took me to McDonald's that night and said we couldn't afford anything else. The silence that follows is broken by my mother's sharp intake of breath. She looks at Marcus as if seeing him clearly for the first time in years. There's more. I continue because the truth needs to come out completely. Tyler, did you know you received scholarship offers from 3 different universities? Tyler looks confused. No, I only got accepted to Westfield and State University. Westfield offered partial aid and State University didn't offer anything. I pull out printed emails from my folder and Tyler's face goes white as he recognizes the university letterheads. Full academic scholarship to University of Georgia covering tuition, housing, and books. Full ride plus stipend to Florida State University. 80% tuition coverage at University of Virginia. That's impossible, Tyler whispers, taking the papers from my hands. Your father intercepted these emails, I explained gently. He called each university and told them you were no longer interested in their offers. Marcus stands up again, his face now bright red with anger and embarrassment. Those schools aren't good enough for Tyler. He deserves better than some state school education. The University of Georgia has one of the top business programs in the country, I reply calmly, and it would have cost Tyler exactly $0 to attend. Tyler looks at his father with an expression of betrayal that cuts through the room like a knife. You threw away full scholarships, Dad. How could you do that? I was protecting your future. Marcus insists. Westfield University has connections and prestige that those other schools can't match. Uncle Dennis shakes his head in disbelief. Marcus, you destroyed your son's opportunities because of your own pride. My father finally speaks up, his voice heavy with exhaustion. What else don't we know, Kennedy? What other secrets have you uncovered? I close the manila folder and look around the table at my family. My parents, who look older and more fragile than I've ever seen them. My brother, whose house of lies is finally collapsing. My nephew, who is learning that the adults he trusted have been making decisions based on ego rather than wisdom. And my uncle, who came here to pressure me but now understands the true scope of the problem. The international consulting position in Barcelona came about because my supervisor at Morrison & Associates recommended me personally for a promotion within the company's European division. I reveal, Jessica Walsh specifically requested me for the position because of my integrity and work ethic qualities she said were demonstrated by how I handled my student loans independently without asking family for help. Marcus laughs bitterly. So you're using this job as revenge against us? I'm using this job as an escape from a toxic family dynamic that has been damaging my mental health for years, I correct him. But there's something else you should know about your attempts to sabotage my career. The room goes still as I reach for my phone and scroll to a saved voicemail. I place the device on the table and press play. Jessica Walsh's professional voice fills the dining room, and everyone leans forward to listen. Kennedy, this is Jessica. I received the most bizarre phone call today from someone claiming to be your brother. He said you were mentally unstable and suggested I reconsider your placement in Barcelona. I wanted you to know about this immediately because his accusations were so outrageous that I actually had to document the conversation for HR purposes. I stopped the recording and looked directly at Marcus. 2 weeks ago, you called my boss and tried to get me fired. Marcus's mouth opens and closes without producing any sound. Tyler stares at his father in complete shock while my parents exchange glances that confirm their worst suspicions about their son's character. What exactly did you tell her? I ask, my voice still calm despite the fury building inside me. I was trying to help you, Marcus stammers. I thought if you couldn't take the Barcelona job, you'd stay here and help with Tyler's education. You told my supervisor that I had gambling problems and was fleeing debt collectors. I continue reading from notes I took during my conversation with Jessica. You suggested I was stealing from clients and needed psychiatric evaluation. Uncle Dennis stands up and walks to the window, shaking his head in disbelief. Marcus, you tried to destroy your sister's career. I wasn't trying to destroy anything, Marcus protests weakly. I just thought... You thought you could manipulate the situation to get what you wanted. I interrupt, just like you've been doing your entire adult life. Tyler looks at the scholarship letters scattered on the table, then back at his father. How many opportunities have you cost me, Dad? How many chances did I lose because you thought you knew better? I was protecting you from settling for less than you deserve, Marcus insists, but his voice lacks any conviction. Less than I deserve. Tyler's voice rises for the first time since I arrived. A full scholarship to the University of Georgia is settling for less free tuition, free housing, free books, and you threw it away because it wasn't prestigious enough for your ego. I pull out another document from my folder, this one showing the timeline of scholarship deadlines. The University of Georgia deadline was March 15th. Florida State was April 1st. University of Virginia was April 10th. All 3 deadlines have passed and the scholarships have been awarded to other students. Tyler sits down heavily, his head in his hands. I could have been starting college debt-free in 3 months. My mother finally finds her voice again. Marcus, how could you make these decisions without discussing them with Tyler or us? Because you would have tried to talk me out of it, Marcus admits. You don't understand how important it is for Tyler to attend a school with the right reputation. The right reputation for whom? I ask. For Tyler or for you? Marcus doesn't answer, but his silence speaks volumes. Uncle Dennis returns to the table and picks up the bank statements showing Marcus's gambling losses. $12,000 in 1 year, he reads aloud. That's more than some people make in salary. Everyone has hobbies, Marcus mutters. Hobbies don't involve mortgage payments, I reply. Speaking of which, Mom and Dad, did you know you have $38,000 in credit card debt? Both my parents look startled. My father fumbles for his wallet and pulls out a credit card statement. How did you know that? Because when you asked me to help with tax preparation, I noticed the minimum payment amounts on your monthly budget. I did the math. I pull out another document, this one showing my parents' mortgage information. You've also taken a second mortgage on the house to cover Marcus's various financial emergencies over the past 5 years. My mother gasps, Robert, you told me that was for home improvements. My father's face goes red with embarrassment. Some of it was for home improvements. $18,000 was for home improvements. I clarify, $42,000 was transferred directly to Marcus for his business startup gambling debts and personal expenses. Tyler looks up from his hands, his eyes filled with tears. Grandma and Grandpa, you risked your home for Dad's gambling. We thought we were helping him get back on his feet, my father says weakly. Uncle Dennis slams his fist on the table, making everyone jump. Marcus, you've been bleeding this family dry while your sister worked herself to the bone to stay independent. I never asked Kennedy for anything, Marcus protests. You're asking for $38,000 right now, I point out. That's different. That's for Tyler's future. No, it's not. I pull out the final document from my folder, and this one makes Marcus go completely white. Tyler, your father has been telling people that you need to attend Westfield University because you didn't qualify for financial aid anywhere else. Tyler looks confused. That's true, isn't it? Actually, it's not. I hand him a letter from the financial aid office at State University. You qualified for $8,000 in grants plus student loan eligibility. Your total out-of-pocket cost for State University would have been $12,000 per year. $12,000, Tyler repeats. That's less than a third of what Westfield costs. But your father convinced you that State University was beneath your standards. I continue, he said the family reputation required you to attend a more prestigious institution. Marcus slumps in his chair, finally realizing that all his lies are unraveling simultaneously. State University doesn't have the same connections. State University has an excellent business program and strong alumni network, I counter. But more importantly, Tyler could graduate without crushing debt. Tyler stands up again, this time with determination rather than confusion. I want to call State University tomorrow and see if I can still accept their aid package. The deadline was June 1st, I inform him gently, but you could apply again for next year or start at community college and transfer after 2 years. Why would he want to go to community college? Marcus asks with disdain. Because community college costs $3,000 per year and Tyler could work part-time while attending classes, I explain. After 2 years, he could transfer to State University as a junior with minimal debt. Tyler nods, slowly processing this information. That actually sounds smart. It sounds like giving up, Marcus argues. It sounds like taking responsibility for my own education instead of expecting other people to pay for it, Tyler corrects his father. My mother reaches across the table and takes Tyler's hand. Honey, whatever you decide will support you. Will you? I ask pointedly, because supporting Tyler's independence might mean saying no when Marcus asks for more money to cover his gambling debts. The truth hangs in the air like smoke from a fire that can't be extinguished. Everyone at the table now understands the full scope of Marcus's financial manipulation and how it has affected each family member differently. Uncle Dennis breaks the silence by addressing Tyler directly. Son, what do you want to do about college? Tyler looks around the table, taking in the faces of his family members. When he speaks, his voice is stronger and more mature than I've ever heard it. I want to move out of Dad's house and take responsibility for my own future, he announces. Aunt Kennedy, you've shown me what it looks like to be truly independent, and that's the path I want to follow. Tyler's declaration creates a moment of stunned silence that feels like the calm before a storm. My mother drops her hand from his, and my father adjusts his glasses as if trying to bring the situation into clearer focus. Tyler, you can't be serious, Marcus says, his voice taking on a pleading tone. You're 18 years old. You're not ready to be completely on your own. I'm the same age Aunt Kennedy was when she started working to pay for college. Tyler replies, his newfound confidence evident in every word. If she could do it, I can figure it out too. I feel a surge of pride mixed with concern for my nephew. Tyler, independence is admirable, but you need a realistic plan. Where would you live? How would you support yourself? Tyler pulls out his phone and scrolls through his contacts. I've been thinking about this for the past hour, listening to everything Dad has done. Grandma Ruth has been asking me to come stay with her since Grandpa died last year. She has that big house in Millbrook, and she's always said she could use the company. My mother perks up slightly. Ruth would love to have you there, honey. She's been so lonely since your grandfather passed. I called her while you were all arguing, Tyler continues. She said I could move in tomorrow if I wanted to. She also said she'd help me apply for financial aid at the community college near her house. Marcus stands up abruptly, knocking over his water glass. The liquid spreads across the table, soaking into some of the financial documents. You called Ruth without discussing this with me first. She's gonna fill your head with ideas about how I'm a terrible father. She didn't need to fill my head with anything, Tyler says firmly. I figured that out by listening to everything you've been hiding from me. Uncle Dennis helps clean up the spilled water with napkins from the counter. Ruth's a good woman. She raised 4 kids on her own after your grandfather's accident. Tyler could learn a lot from her. She's also been managing her finances independently for 30 years, I add. Tyler, if you're serious about this, she could teach you budgeting and money management skills that will serve you for life. My father finally speaks up, his voice heavy with resignation. Tyler, we want what's best for you, but this seems like such a drastic change from what we've been planning. Funny what you've been planning, Tyler corrects. Nobody ever asked me what I wanted. Dad decided I needed to go to Westfield University without considering whether I could afford it or whether it was the right choice for my goals. I reach into my purse and pull out a business card from Jessica Walsh. Tyler, my supervisor in Barcelona has connections with study abroad programs for American students. If you're interested in international business, there might be opportunities for you to explore that path in a few years. Marcus laughs bitterly. Great, now you're trying to recruit my son for your European adventure. I'm trying to show him that there are options beyond the narrow path you've laid out for him. I respond calmly. Tyler takes the business card and studies it carefully. Aunt Kennedy, when you first started thinking about working overseas, what made you decide to pursue it? I consider his question thoughtfully. I realized that I had been making decisions based on other people's expectations instead of my own goals. The Barcelona position offered me a chance to use my skills in a new environment where I could build relationships based on my merit rather than my family history. That's exactly what I want, Tyler says with growing excitement. I want to prove what I can do on my own without Dad's reputation or Grandpa and Grandma's money influencing how people see me. My mother dabs at her eyes with a tissue. Tyler, we've never wanted our help to be a burden. We just want to make things easier for you than they were for us. But it wasn't easier for Aunt Kennedy, Tyler points out. She worked harder than anyone, and she ended up stronger and more successful because of it. Uncle Dennis nods approvingly. The boy's got a point. Sometimes the easy path doesn't build character. Marcus turns on his brother-in-law with sudden fury. Don't you start lecturing me about character. You've made plenty of mistakes in your life. I have made mistakes, Dennis admits, but I never gambled away my family's security or lied to my kids about scholarship opportunities. I was trying to protect Tyler from settling for less than he deserves. Marcus insists, repeating his earlier justification. You were protecting your own ego, I interject. You wanted to be able to tell your friends that your son attended a prestigious university regardless of the financial cost to the family. Tyler walks over to where his father is standing and looks him directly in the eyes. Dad, I love you, but I don't trust your judgment about my future anymore. You've been making decisions based on what makes you look good instead of what's actually good for me. The pain in Marcus's expression is genuine, but it's mixed with anger and frustration. Tyler, you're going to regret this. Starting over at 18 with no family support is harder than you think. I'm not starting with no family support, Tyler corrects. I'm starting with the right kind of family support, people who encourage me to be independent instead of dependent. I stand up and walk around the table to where Tyler is standing. Tyler, I want you to know that I'm proud of the decision you're making. It takes courage to choose the difficult path when an easier option is available. Even if the easier option comes with strings attached, Tyler replies with a maturity that surprises everyone in the room. My father removes his glasses and cleans them slowly, a gesture I remember from childhood when he was trying to process his difficult information. Kennedy, how long have you been planning to leave for Barcelona? I accepted the position in March, but I've been preparing for an international move since I paid off my student loans. I answer honestly. I wanted to build enough savings to make the transition without financial stress. And you never considered staying to help Tyler with college, my mother asks. I considered it, I admit. But I realized that helping Tyler meant showing him how to be financially independent, not enabling the same cycle of dependency that has been damaging this family for years. Marcus shakes his head in disgust. So your solution is to abandon us all and run away to Europe? My solution is to remove myself from a dynamic where my financial stability is seen as a resource for other people's poor decisions. I clarify. Tyler's choice to live with Ruth and attend community college has nothing to do with my career plans. He's making that decision based on his own values. Tyler nods in agreement. Aunt Kennedy is showing me that it's possible to make choices based on what's right for you instead of what other people expect. Uncle Dennis gathers the scattered financial documents from the table and hands them back to me. Kennedy, these papers show a pattern of problems that go way beyond Tyler's college funding. That's why I can't be part of the solution, I explain. Every time I've helped in the past, it's enabled Marcus to avoid facing the consequences of his decisions. Marcus sits back down, his earlier anger giving way to something that looks like desperation. So that's it. You're all just going to abandon me. Nobody's abandoning you, my mother says gently, but we can't keep rescuing you from problems you create for yourself. Tyler walks back to his chair and sits down, his decision clearly made. Dad, I'll always love you, but I need to learn how to be responsible for my own life. Watching Aunt Kennedy has shown me what that looks like. I look around the table at my family parents who are finally seeing the full scope of the financial crisis they've enabled, a brother who is realizing that his manipulation has finally reached its limits, and a nephew who is choosing to break the cycle of dependency that has defined our family dynamics for years. There's one more thing you should know, I say quietly. Jessica Walsh didn't just ignore Marcus's phone call, she actually investigated my background more thoroughly because of his accusations. Everyone looks at me with curiosity and concern. The investigation revealed that I've saved 3 clients a combined total of over $200,000 through careful financial analysis. I continue. My colleagues provided testimonials about my integrity and competence. Client reviews showed that I consistently go above and beyond to help businesses improve their financial stability. I pause to let this information sink in. Based on that investigation, the Barcelona office increased my starting salary by $8,000 and offered me a signing bonus of $15,000. Tyler grins for the first time since I arrived. Aunt Kennedy Dad's attempt to sabotage you actually made your situation better? Sometimes the truth has a way of working in your favor, I reply with a small smile. Marcus looks defeated. I was just trying to keep the family together. No, you were trying to control the family to serve your own needs, I correct him gently. But Tyler's decision and my career move aren't about punishing you. They're about choosing healthier ways to live. My father folds his hands on the table and looks at each of us in turn. I think we all need some time to process everything that's come out tonight. I don't need time to process anything, Tyler says firmly. I'm calling Grandma Ruth tonight to confirm the moving arrangements, and I'm going to register for classes at community college next week. The next morning arrives with an urgency that feels like the countdown to an execution. I wake up at 5:30 a.m. in my childhood bedroom, which still contains posters from high school and a twin bed that makes me feel like I'm visiting a museum of my former life. My suitcase sits by the door, packed with everything I'll need for my new life in Barcelona. Downstairs, I can hear my mother moving around the kitchen, probably making coffee and processing everything that happened at dinner last night. The morning light streaming through my window feels different somehow, like it's illuminating the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. My phone buzzes with a text message from Tyler. Grandma Ruth is picking me up at noon. Dad's been in his room all night. Mom and Dad are freaking out. Are you still leaving today? I type back quickly. Flight leaves at 10:15 a.m. Are you okay with your decision? His response comes immediately. More okay than I've felt about anything in months. Thank you for showing me what independence looks like. I shower and dress in my travel clothes, comfortable jeans, a soft sweater, and the boots I bought specifically for walking on Barcelona's cobblestone streets. When I come downstairs with my suitcase, I find my parents sitting at the kitchen table with coffee cups and red-rimmed eyes that suggest they haven't slept much. Oh, Kennedy. My mother says, without looking up, your father and I talked all night about what happened yesterday. I pour myself a cup of coffee and sit down across from them. What conclusions did you reach? My father clears his throat. We realized we've made some serious mistakes in how we've handled family finances over the years. More than some mistakes, my mother adds quietly. We enabled Marcus's behavior and took advantage of your responsibility. I nod, appreciating their honesty, but knowing that acknowledgement alone won't change years of ingrained patterns. I'm glad you're recognizing the problems, but it doesn't change my decision to leave. We understand why you need to go, my father says, but we're worried about Tyler. He's so young to be making such a drastic change. Tyler is the same age I was when I started working to pay my own way through college, I remind them. The difference is that he has Ruth's support and guidance, which is more than I had at that age. My mother starts crying again. I feel like we failed both of you kids. We tried to help Marcus because he seemed to need it more, and we assumed you were strong enough to handle everything on your own. I was strong enough, I agree, but that doesn't mean it was fair or that it didn't damage our relationships. The sound of Marcus's footsteps on the stairs interrupts our conversation. He appears in the kitchen doorway, looking haggard and desperate, like someone who has spent the night trying to figure out how to salvage a situation that has spiraled completely out of control. Kennedy, we need to talk, he announces without greeting anyone else. We talked yesterday, I reply calmly. Everything that needed to be said was said. No, it wasn't. He sits down at the table uninvited and leans forward with the intensity of someone making a final plea. I called Tyler's phone 6 times last night. He won't answer. Maybe he needs space to process everything he learned about your financial decisions, I suggest. Look, I made mistakes, okay, I admit that, but you can't just destroy this family because you're angry about ancient history. I set down my coffee cup and look at him steadily. Marcus, I'm not destroying anything. I'm removing myself from a dynamic that has been unhealthy for everyone involved. You're abandoning Tyler when he needs guidance, Marcus argues. He's making emotional decisions instead of thinking clearly about his future. Tyler is making informed decisions based on accurate information. I correct. For the first time in his life, he knows the truth about his options and the family's financial situation. My father tries to mediate. Marcus, perhaps, if you explain your concerns more calmly. My concern is that my sister is using her money and success to manipulate my son into rejecting his family. Marcus interrupts. The accusation hits the room like a physical blow. My mother gasps and my father's face hardens with disapproval. That's an interesting perspective, I say evenly, considering that you've been using manipulation to control family decisions for years. Marcus's voice rises. I've been trying to make sure Tyler has opportunities. You're encouraging him to settle for community college and living with his grandmother like some kind of charity case. I'm encouraging him to take responsibility for his own life instead of expecting other people to solve his problems for him. I reply, like you did with your perfect little escape plan to Barcelona. Marcus's tone becomes increasingly bitter. Running away when things get complicated instead of staying to help fix the problems. I stand up and walk to the window, looking out at the backyard where Marcus and I played as children. The swing set is still there, rusted and unused like a monument to simpler times when our biggest conflicts were about whose turn it was to use the tire swing. Marcus, I'm not running away from problems, I say without turning around. I'm running toward opportunities. There's a difference. What opportunities? He scoffs. You're going to some foreign country where you don't know anyone, don't speak the language, and have no support system. How is that better than staying here where you have family? I turn back to face him, and for a moment I see the little boy who used to follow me around the house, wanting to be included in whatever I was doing. But that little boy grew into a man who learned to take instead of give to manipulate, instead of earn to blame, instead of accept responsibility. I've been learning Spanish for 18 months, I inform him. I have contacts at the Barcelona office who have been helping me prepare for the transition, and my support system here has been one-sided for so long that leaving won't actually change much. My mother reaches for my hand. Kennedy, we want to support you, but this feels so sudden and final. It's not sudden, I explain. I've been planning this move carefully for over a year. It only feels sudden because I stopped sharing my plans with people who consistently discouraged my ambitions. Marcus stands up abruptly, his chair scraping against the kitchen floor. Your ambitions? You mean your selfish desire to abandon your responsibilities to the family that raised you. My responsibility to the family was to work hard, stay out of trouble, and never ask for help, I reply. I fulfilled those responsibilities for 24 years. My responsibility to myself is to build a life based on my own values and goals. The sound of a car in the driveway interrupts our argument. Through the window, I can see Ruth's silver Honda Accord pulling up to the house. She's early, which means Tyler probably called her last night and asked her to come sooner than planned. That's Ruth, my father observes unnecessarily. Tyler's really doing this, my mother says, her voice filled with a mixture of pride and sadness. Marcus rushes to the front door and yanks it open before Ruth can even get out of her car. Ruth, we need to talk about Tyler's decision. He's not thinking clearly right now. Ruth emerges from her car with the steady confidence of a woman who raised 4 children and managed a household budget through decades of economic ups and downs. She's 72 years old, but moves with the energy of someone much younger, wearing practical shoes and a cardigan that has seen many family crises. Marcus, she says calmly, Tyler called me last night and explained the situation. I think his decision shows remarkable maturity. Maturity. Marcus's voice carries across the yard. He's throwing away a chance at a prestigious education because he's angry about some family disagreements. Ruth walks toward the house with purposeful steps. Tyler is choosing to take responsibility for his own education instead of expecting other people to pay for it. That sounds mature to me. I grab my suitcase and join the conversation on the front porch, knowing that my departure time is approaching quickly. Ruth, thank you for giving Tyler this opportunity. She smiles at me warmly. Kennedy, honey, I've been watching your independence and success for years. You're a wonderful example for Tyler to follow. Marcus becomes increasingly desperate as he realizes he's losing control of the situation. Ruth, you don't understand the full picture. Kennedy has been encouraging Tyler to reject his family's help and make decisions based on spite. I understand more than you think, Ruth replies firmly. Tyler told me about the scholarships you turned down on his behalf and about the money troubles you've been hiding from everyone. My parents join us on the porch and my father checks his watch. Kennedy, what time is your flight? 10:15, I answer. I need to leave for the airport in about 20 minutes. Tyler appears in the doorway carrying a duffel bag and a backpack, his essential belongings packed for the move to his grandmother's house. He looks determined and slightly nervous, like someone about to jump off a diving board for the first time. He says to Marcus, I want you to know that I still love you, but I can't let your problems become my problems. Marcus's composure finally cracks completely. Tyler, you're making the biggest mistake of your life. In 10 years, you'll regret throwing away this opportunity for college. In 10 years, I'll be proud that I earned my education through my own work instead of expecting other people to pay for it. Tyler replies with conviction that surprises everyone on the porch. Ruth takes Tyler's bags and loads them into her car with efficient movements that suggest she's made many similar trips over the years. Marcus, if you want to maintain a relationship with your son, I suggest you focus on supporting his decisions instead of undermining them. I walk over to Tyler and give him a hug that feels like passing a torch from one generation to the next. Tyler, I'm proud of you for choosing the difficult path. Stay in touch and remember that independence is worth the effort it takes to achieve it. I will, he promises. And Aunt Kennedy, I hope Barcelona is everything you're hoping it will be. Marcus makes one final attempt to regain control. This is insane. You're all acting like I'm the villain here when I've been trying to help my son succeed. You've been trying to help your son succeed according to your definition of success, I correct him. But success for Tyler might look different than success for you. Ruth starts her car and rolls down the window. Tyler, are you ready to go? Tyler looks around at his family one more time, then nods decisively. I'm ready. As Ruth's car pulls out of the driveway, I realize that my own departure is just minutes away. My parents look exhausted and overwhelmed, like people trying to process the aftermath of an earthquake. Marcus stands on the porch with slumped shoulders, finally understanding that his attempts at manipulation have backfired completely. Kennedy, my mother says quietly, will you stay in touch with us? I'll stay in touch, I promise, but I'm setting boundaries about what I will and won't discuss. My finances and career decisions are not open for family input anymore. That's fair, my father agrees. We haven't earned the right to have opinions about your life choices. I give my parents each a hug goodbye, feeling a mixture of sadness and relief. They're good people who made poor decisions, and I hope they'll learn from this experience. But their learning process is not my responsibility. Marcus doesn't approach for a goodbye hug, and I don't offer one. Instead, he speaks from across the porch. Kennedy, I hope you find whatever you're looking for in Barcelona. I'm looking for the chance to build relationships based on mutual respect instead of financial obligation, I reply. I think I have a good chance of finding that. 6 months later, I'm sitting in my Barcelona apartment, which overlooks a quiet plaza filled with orange trees and the sound of morning conversations in rapid Spanish. My Spanish has improved dramatically through daily immersion, and I've discovered that I have an aptitude for languages that I never explored while living in my hometown bubble. The international consulting position has exceeded my expectations in every way. My colleagues appreciate my analytical skills and direct communication style, which translates well across cultural boundaries. Jessica Walsh was right about my integrity and work ethic being valuable assets in the international market. I've already been assigned to 3 major client projects, and my supervisor has mentioned the possibility of a promotion to senior consultant next year. My apartment is small but perfectly designed with high ceilings, original tile floors, and a tiny balcony where I drink my morning coffee while listening to the sounds of the neighborhood waking up. The rent costs less than my mortgage payment back home, and I've been able to save money despite the international move. Tyler emails me every week with updates about his progress at community college and his life with Ruth. He's thriving in ways that surprise everyone, including himself. His latest email contains news that makes me smile. He's been selected as a tutor for other students in his accounting class, and he's earning enough money to cover his textbooks and personal expenses. Aunt Kennedy. He wrote in his most recent message, "I never realized how good it feels to pay for things with money you earned yourself. Every dollar means more when you worked for it. Grandma Ruth has been teaching me how to budget and plan for the future. I'm actually excited about transferring to State University as a junior because I'll have earned my place there." Ruth has sent me photos of Tyler helping her with home maintenance projects and cooking dinner together in her kitchen. He looks happy and confident in ways I never saw when he was living under his father's expectations and pressure. My parents have been attending financial counseling sessions to address their debt and spending patterns. My father sent me a letter last month explaining that they've consolidated their credit card debt and created a realistic budget for the first time in years. They're considering downsizing to a smaller house to eliminate the second mortgage and reduce their monthly expenses. "We realize now that we were enabling Marcus's behavior while taking advantage of your responsibility," my father wrote. "We're learning to say no when he asks for money, and we're focusing on rebuilding our own financial stability." Marcus has been the slowest to adapt to the new family dynamics. He completed a gambling addiction treatment program, but he's struggled with the reality that his family members are no longer willing to rescue him from the consequences of his poor decisions. He's living in a studio apartment and working as a night security guard, ironically the same type of job I worked during college. Tyler reports that his father calls him occasionally, but their conversations are strained. Marcus continues to believe that Tyler made a mistake by choosing community college over Westfield University, and he has difficulty accepting his son's happiness with a path he considers beneath the family's standards. Last month, Tyler received a letter from the University of Georgia offering him a partial scholarship for transfer students who maintain high grades at community college. He's excited about the possibility, and Ruth has been helping him research the application process. The scholarship wouldn't cover everything, but combined with Tyler's savings and a small student loan, it would make his dream education affordable and debt-free. "The difference is that this time, I'm making the decision based on what I want and what I can afford," Tyler explained in his email. "Dad's opinion doesn't factor into my choice at all. I've made friends in Barcelona through work and through language exchange programs where I help Spanish speakers practice English while they help me improve my fluency. My social life is built around shared interests and mutual respect rather than family obligation or guilt. The relationships feel healthier and more authentic than many of the connections I had back home." Jessica Walsh visited the Barcelona office last month and took me to dinner at a restaurant overlooking the Mediterranean. Kennedy, she said over paella and sangria, "Your brother's attempt to sabotage your career was one of the most unprofessional things I've encountered in 20 years of management, but it ended up being the best thing that could have happened for your professional development." She explained that my handling of the situation, remaining calm, professional, and focus on my work despite personal attacks, had impressed the executive team. "You demonstrated exactly the kind of character we need in our international consultants," she told me. "You're being considered for a permanent position in our European division with significant advancement opportunities." The irony isn't lost on me that Marcus's attempt to destroy my career actually accelerated my professional success. Sometimes the truth really does work in your favor when you consistently act with integrity. I've been learning flamenco dancing on weekends, something I never would have tried back home because I was always too busy working or too exhausted from dealing with family drama. The instructor, Carmen, is a 60-year-old woman who immigrated to Barcelona from Seville 30 years ago and built a successful dance school through determination and skill. Their independence, she told me during a recent lesson, is not about being alone. It's about choosing your connections based on what brings joy and growth to your life. Carmen's words remind me why leaving was necessary. I wasn't running away from my family. I was running toward the chance to build relationships based on mutual respect and shared values, rather than guilt and obligation. Tyler has started sending me photos from his weekend adventures, with Ruth hiking trails, visiting museums, cooking traditional family recipes that Ruth learned from her own grandmother. He looks relaxed and genuinely happy, no longer carrying the weight of living up to impossible expectations. Aunt Kennedy, he wrote in his latest email, "I understand now why you left. Sometimes you have to remove yourself from toxic situations before you can become the person you're meant to be. Grandma Ruth says you were the bravest person in our family because you chose your own path even when everyone else disapproved." My parents have started calling me once a month, and our conversations are more honest and respectful than they've ever been. They ask about my work and my life in Barcelona without trying to convince me to return home. They share updates about their financial progress and their relationship with Tyler without asking me to intervene or provide solutions. "We're proud of what you've accomplished," my mother told me during our most recent call. "We should have said that years ago, but we were too focused on Marcus's problems to recognize your successes." The acknowledgement feels good, but it doesn't change my decision to maintain physical and emotional distance from the family dynamics that caused so much damage. Some relationships can be repaired, but they require new boundaries and different expectations. Marcus sent me an email 2 months ago, the first direct communication since I left for Barcelona. It was a short message, apologizing for trying to sabotage my career and acknowledging that his gambling addiction had hurt the entire family. He didn't ask for money or forgiveness. He simply stated the facts and expressed hope that Tyler would eventually want to rebuild their relationship. I responded with an equally brief message expressing hope for his recovery and success in his treatment program. I didn't offer to visit or suggest ongoing communication. Some bridges can be rebuilt, but they require time and evidence of genuine change. The Barcelona office has offered me the opportunity to spend 6 months working with clients in London, which would expand my international experience and open up even more career possibilities. I'm considering the opportunity, seriously excited by the prospect of further professional growth in a new cultural environment. Tyler's latest email contains the news that he's planning to study abroad during his junior year at university, inspired by my example of international independence. Aunt Kennedy, he wrote, "You showed me that the world is bigger than our hometown problems. I want to explore what's possible when you're willing to take risks for the right reasons." Ruth includes a note at the bottom of Tyler's emails, always thanking me for being a positive influence in his life. Kennedy, she wrote recently, "You gave Tyler something? We couldn't give him the example of someone who chose integrity over comfort. That's a gift that will serve him for the rest of his life." As I finish writing this email to Tyler, I can hear the evening sounds of Barcelona beginning the clatter of dishes from restaurants, the conversations of people walking home from work, the distant sound of street musicians playing for tourists in the Gothic quarter. Tomorrow marks exactly 6 months since I left home, and I can honestly say that I've never felt more confident about a decision in my life. The path wasn't easy. Leaving family behind never is, but it was necessary for my mental health, my financial security, and my personal growth. I've learned that sometimes the greatest act of love is refusing to participate in destructive patterns, even when that choice requires temporary separation and difficult conversations. Sometimes helping family means saying no to their immediate requests and yes to their long-term growth. Tyler is learning independence and responsibility because I showed him that those qualities were valuable and attainable. My parents are facing their financial problems honestly because I stopped enabling their avoidance. Even Marcus is beginning to accept responsibility for his actions because his usual support system refused to continue rescuing him from consequences. The family is healing, but it's healing in separate spaces with clear boundaries and realistic expectations. That might not be the fairy tale ending that some people imagine, but it's a healthy resolution that respects everyone's need for growth and change. Sometimes justice isn't about punishment or revenge. Sometimes justice is simply about truth consequences and the freedom to choose your own path based on your own values. I chose integrity over comfort, independence over dependence, and growth over stagnation. Barcelona has given me the chance to build a life based on my own goals rather than other people's expectations. My work is challenging and meaningful. My relationships are based on mutual respect, and my financial security comes from my own efforts rather than family obligation. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be doing exactly what I'm meant to do with people who appreciate my contributions rather than taking them for granted. The sun is setting over the Mediterranean, painting my small apartment in golden light, and I'm planning adventures and opportunities that I never could have imagined while trapped in the cycle of family manipulation. The plane ticket to Barcelona wasn't just a means of transportation. It was a declaration of independence, a commitment to growth, and a step toward the life I deserve to live. Sometimes the best thing you can do for the people you love is to show them what's possible when you have the courage to choose yourself. Now, as I prepare for another day of meaningful work in a city that has welcomed me with open arms, I understand that true family support means encouraging independence, celebrating success, and respecting boundaries. The people who love you will want you to thrive even if your success takes you far from home. Have you ever been in a situation where family expectations conflicted with your personal goals, and how did you handle the pressure to sacrifice your dreams for other people's needs? Sometimes the hardest decisions are the ones that lead to the most growth, and I believe everyone deserves the chance to build a life based on their own values rather than other people's demands. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it encourages you to pursue your own path toward independence and integrity, even when the journey requires difficult choices. Please like this video. If it resonated with you, subscribe for more stories about overcoming family challenges. Share it with someone who might need to hear this message, and comment below with your own experiences about choosing yourself when family dynamics become toxic. Remember that you have the right to build a life that reflects your values, and sometimes the greatest gift you can give to your family is the example of someone who chose growth over comfort and truth over convenience.